There it is, folks. California State Capitol, Sacramento. We're approaching. There's the rally right over there. Shannon Poe, President, American Mining Rights Association.
There they are.
We got Greg Villas coming in. Local news is here.
I want to thank you for coming out. For those that don't know me, my name is Shannon Poe, and Jerry Clements and myself, Jeff McAuliffe and Don Siegel, we walked 312 miles for you.
Yeah! Good job!
The whole purpose behind this is probably something that we share with you guys or you wouldn't be here, and that is we're pretty frustrated. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Do you think the politicians are listening to you?
No!
Hey guys, up there, third, fourth floor, you hear that? They don't think they're listening. You're listening to them. Why don't you come down and talk to them? We took them flyers this morning. They went into every single office up there. Have you seen a politician down here talking to you yet?
No!
A lot of us are small miners here. There's some loggers here. There's some ranchers, some farmers. We've got a lot of State of Jefferson folks here, which, by the way, thank you to the State of Jefferson. You guys are awesome. We've got a lot of the hound hunters here. We have fishermen, hikers. We've got a really diverse group of people. But here's the problem, is we've always fought our own fights. And as miners, and I can only really speak to the miners, is the miners, we haven't been very successful with that because it's just us, it's just our group. But imagine if somebody like Jeff, if we had the support of the timber, all the timber fallers and the loggers and the log truck drivers, and then we had State of Jefferson, and then we had the Ranchers Association, and then we had, this group and that group. And when you start to coalesce, look at the things that you can do, and he's probably the best success that I can think of. That's what we have to do, guys, and that's what this Walk for Liberty was about. It wasn't just to get attention drawn to the miners. It was to get attention drawn to everybody, that it's time that we start shaking hands and meeting these folks and working with those folks and working with those folks. Because if we don't do that, guys, we're going to lose. And if you lose, it's game over. Do you get that, right?
How y'all doing?
Good!
Think Gavin Newsom can hear us? Are you sure he can hear us? Yeah, I think so too.
Wake up, Gavin!
You know what? I was asked to speak about the State of Jefferson, and Nick, can you hold up your flag? So I'm thinking, how can I just tell you about the State of Jefferson real quick in about 5 minutes? And I thought about the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. We want to add a flag, a star to the flag, not take one off. This is not secession. We want to add a star. Who loves their country? We all love our country, and we want to see it better. And to the republic for which it stands, Article 4, Section 4, United States Constitution, we are not a democracy. We are a republican form of government, which means we have representation, or do we?
No.
We'll talk about that in a minute. One nation, under God, indivisible. How many people believe they have an inalienable right to life, liberty, and prosperity and property? How many people believe that? Okay, what's an inalienable right? That's a right that, what? Comes from who? God. It's a right, by the Webster Dictionary definition, It cannot be taken away. If man gives you a right, who can take it away?
Man.
If man gives you a right, man can take it away. If God gives you a right, only God can. Liberty. What does liberty mean? Is liberty freedom?
Yes.
Liberty is freedom with accountability, responsibility, and morality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Freedom, it gives you the freedom to do whatever you want. With liberty and justice for all. And justice. Is it justice what they're doing to the miners?
No.
Is it justice to what they're doing to Jeff and the loggers?
No.
Is it justice when they make you pay taxes without your vote?
No.
Is it justice that they're sitting up there and no one will come down here from either party and talk to us?
No.
Why is that? Have you had enough?
Yes. Fed up.
At the end of the 12 and a half miles that I walked the first day, my feet were blistered. But then after about 2 or 3 days, it kind of, your body goes, oh, okay, I get it. I know what we're doing now. You're just going to destroy your feet. Okay, well, let's go. And so it really wasn't that difficult to do. We only had one time where the heat became a major issue, and that was literally in my backyard, 10 miles from my house, walking up the Bagby grade, where the heat coming off the pavement was about 118 degrees. Imagine that, walking uphill in 118 degrees. So other than that, it was actually pretty easy. And I would like to do it again. As a matter of fact, this may surprise you. The whole idea behind this Walk for Liberty not only was to unify everybody, but it was to get the attention of President Trump. I want a meeting with President Trump, and I don't know what the hell it's going to take to get that. Do you guys know that we have sent Donald Trump 183 letters? Think about that. We have sent him 183 letters. What does it take? How do we get his attention? What if we took Walk for Liberty and we walked from San Luis Obispo to Washington, D.C.? Would that get his attention? I don't think I want to do that, though. Jerry? The point I'm trying to make here, folks, is that we're kind of at a crossroads, especially in this state, is either we become something that the state was never intended to be, and we give up and we move away, and I know you all have friends moving out just like I do, or we fight, and we fight hard, and you get the neighbors and your friends and your family and everybody else up off their butts and get them to vote. We've got to do something here. I'm just not willing to give up. I want to introduce somebody here, guys, that and I apologize because we had Devin Mathis slated to talk at 2, and he was here before 2 o'clock, so. But he is a military veteran, a war veteran, Purple Heart, and I just talked to him for a little bit, and he knows Steve Durham, and you guys probably know Steve is a part of our staff. And if Steve endorses him, he A, is conservative, B, he's most likely a military vet, and C, he is very like-minded. So with that, I'd like to introduce Devin. Thank you, sir, for your service.
You guys for, especially the guys that walked. How many here walked? Show of hands, made it down. We were talking about moleskin and how to manage that yesterday. So look, I want to make this short and simple and easy. We're losing because they're ganging up against us. And what I mean by that is you will have union groups team up with environmentalist groups that team up with feminist groups. And they'll all come together and they'll form a block like you guys have done today. And then they take us out. And the biggest problem we have on the conservative side is we end up fighting for the scraps under the table. You know, you got one industry that'll cut the throat of another industry just for a penny on the dollar. And I've seen it for the last 5 years. And the only way we're going to start winning it back is when we put down our grievances and team up together and start taking it back. Because that's what has to happen. Because when you have miners fighting with foresters, because we've all seen those fights, and I say that because I know both groups are here, you lose. You both end up losing. Because the environmentalists have already teamed up with the unions and the other groups, and they'll plan stuff to get you guys to fight. Don't fall for it. What they're worried about is us coming together on the right and actually being organized. Now, granted, I could say it from the military standpoint of what they did was an insurgency, and we need to launch counterinsurgency tactics and go into their areas and build up our resources and start taking them out. But that's exactly what we have to do. Because in the military, it's called a campaign. In politics, it's called a campaign. Because a campaign is a campaign is a campaign. And that's simply what it is. But we've got to stop being afraid. You guys ever heard we've all heard 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right?
Yeah.
You realize that's part of their strategic plan. They'll push their agenda forward knowing we're going to rally, we're going to fight back, and we're going to ask for amendments, right? Well, let's make it just a little bit not so bad, right? And then we all go home, right? They take the step back, but it's still a step forward for them. We're thinking, hey, we pushed them back a step. We stopped them this year. They took the amendments. It's not quite as bad. And I'm so sick of having to do that. Because we need to push back and push back and push back and not let them keep pushing. Because next year they're going to take another 2 steps and 1 step back. And then another 2 steps and 1 step back. And we keep losing ground. So until we actually stay organized and work through it, our biggest problem on the conservative side of things is we'll rally like this, and then we'll all go home and think, hey, we went, we made a difference, we made some noise, they know who we are. But then we go back home. And we don't professionally organize like they do. And it happens all the time. So when you guys get done with the rally today, and after you go over to the water board, keep talking to each other, keep showing up, and don't stop. Because I'll tell you what, every single day up here at the Capitol in this building, I see groups up here lobbying in power in groups bigger than this every single day. And they're taking turns lobbying on the same things. And they're outnumbering us. But they continually do it. It's part of a process. They continually do it and they don't stop. It's year round. When we're out of session here in Sacramento, they're going into our home districts and they're beating us up there on the same things over and over and over. And where are we at? Granted, most of us would say, hey, I'm back home working. I got a job, I got a family to feed. The sad part is you're all here because you're worried about that job and you're worried about the family that you're trying to feed and you're sick of them taking your rights away and taking everything that we've worked so hard to protect. And I don't know about you, but I didn't go to war and get blown up twice to come home and let the socialists take over. Thank you guys for being here.
I had a sneaking suspicion he would be good. Wrap this up here in a minute, but I'm going to talk about really what my issue is. And it's 2 things. One is, I think Devin just touched on this. Guys, we're being beat here. We're being outbeat. When they're talking about special interest groups of this size going through this Capitol on a daily basis, let that sink in. That's what you're facing. Unless you get your friends, your family, and everybody else involved, we're going to continue to take those, steps back. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to win. But Devin also let out of the bag. I'm kind of thinking about taking a little walk over to the water board and just letting them know that we're here. What do you think?
Yeah.
So I want to tell you why. And then this is kind of what we'll close with. But this is really important because I think that we have a lot of miners here. So we've been involved in this fight for 8 years now. And several years ago, they came up with Senate Bill 637, which labeled anything mechanized or motorized as considered a suction dredge. And we all know that that's not true. We know that a generator that you use out in Barstow at night because it's 120 degrees during the day is not a suction dredge. The suction dredge is like a vacuum cleaner. Basically lifts gravel, runs it over a sluice box, and drops it back into the water. It doesn't add anything. It's actually a net removal because we remove 98% of the mercury, and hopefully if we're running a Proline dredge, where's Jeff back there? If we're running a modern dredge, you're going to recover about 99% of the gold. He'll tell you it's 100%, but it's not true. But the water board, so they did the 637 and they passed that and said, okay, dredgers, now you need to get a permit through the California Water Board. So Western Mining Alliance and AMRA submitted, I think, Jerry, what was it, 26, he's talking to Nick. I think we submitted 26 studies that we had since 1990, which showed that suction dredging doesn't hurt salmon or anadromous fish or fish habitat. It doesn't hurt it. It actually helps it. As a matter of fact, last year when we were in Idaho, we had the fisheries biologists from the United States Forest Service come up and say, boy, I wish you guys could dredge bank to bank because you're sure creating perfect fish habitat. No kidding. Yet over here, we're baby killers. So they passed 637 saying you had to get a permit through the water board. The water board was given all these different studies, and we really expected them to be political. And turns out that the scientists, or I'm not sure what their titles are, the ones that are actually tasked with looking at the data to determine, does this activity actually hurt fish? Does it kill them? Does it hurt the environment? Blah, blah, blah. They came back with the conclusion that it was de minimis, meaning no harm. Well, we were thinking, holy cow, these people are actually objective. We're going to be able to dredge. They said, yes, you will have permits come January of this last year. So we started calling them. And they said, well, we lost a bunch of our staff, so it's been delayed. We've already waited for, 3.5 years now? Actually, if you really want to know the truth, we've waited since 2009. What year is this? That's 10 years of my life that I'll never get back.